deals with all of her chronic illnesses with a positive message to others. Monique is full of faith, laughter, life, and inspiration. Honestly, I would describe her as an angel of light. Monique, thank you so much for taking the time and being with me today. I truly appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Emjae. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm just going to dive right in and ask that you just kind of share with me your authentic journey of when you began dealing with your chronic illnesses, and what are the illnesses and how do you deal with it on a daily?
Okay. So I was diagnosed at the age of 7 with JRA, and it's juvenile rheumatoid arthritis.
Wow.
And the way that happened, it took a couple of months before the doctors were able to figure out what was going on. They kept on telling my mom that I was having growing pains, that there was nothing wrong, that they couldn't see anything, until finally it was around April, a couple of months after my birthday, because my birthday's in January, and it was spring break. I remember clearly that. I'm not too sure how exactly it happened, but they saw something in my blood work where they're like, you need to go to the hospital now. Like, something doesn't look normal. Like, my mom went again because she's an angel. She kept on persisting. Like, if she's complaining, there's something going on.
Right.
And in that week, they told my mom it can either be lupus or it can be JRA, because they're cousin illnesses. So it's kind of hard to tell. We need to do so much testing. And by the end of the week, they said she has JRA. And my mom was kind of shocked. She's like, well, isn't that like an old person's illness, like arthritis? Like,
Yeah.
never heard a child have it.
Right.
So after that, after being diagnosed, I used to live in Texas. I used to live in El Paso, Texas, which back then used to be kind of a pretty smaller town. And they didn't really have the resources or specialists that I needed to be seen with. And my mom was frustrated until finally she bumped into someone, and they told her about the Shriners Hospital, which is basically like the children's hospital, but it was in Houston. And from there, I started seeing a specialist, and he specialized in rheumatology. And fast forward, I was doing great until I was 15. I started feeling some aches and pains, but I didn't really think much of it because I thought, well, it's probably just my arthritis. Maybe it's just acting up.
Sure.
And I went to an activity with the school, and it was for FBLA, like the Future Business Leaders of America. We went to an activity. It was out of town, and there, I remember I just felt really sick and tired, and most of the time I just slept through the whole event that we were going through. And my teacher told my mom, like, I think there's something going on because she's just not her normal self. Like, maybe she should just get checked. So we went to the doctor, and my lab work came back, and they're like, you need to go in immediately. Like, I think I got my lab work at the beginning of May. By the end of May, after I had graduated, like, you need to go in. Like, your kidneys are failing.
Oh, Jesus.
And we were like, what? Like, my kidneys are failing? Like, it just, at that time, I just couldn't process, like, this is real. Like, this is something dangerous because your kidneys are very important. And so we went, and they're like, we need to make sure what's causing it. And again, I was hospitalized. It did more work and biopsies. And they're like, yeah, you have lupus. And kind of like our world shattered again. We're like, what do you mean?
Yeah. And you were 15?
15, yeah. That's 15 times. So after 8 years of being okay, it's like my body kind of like just like, well, something I guess was under there, just waiting to come out. Like, they don't really know the reason why. And my specialist who came and visited me in the hospital, he's like, I'm so sorry to tell you, it's just like, it looks like you just drew the bad luck. I'm like, oh, okay. Not what I wanted to hear, but okay. So after that.
So let me just ask you real quick, did the lupus, did that attack your organs? Is that what happened? Or?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
It just, my case, I guess, would be called an aggressive case, because I've had other friends that have lupus, but they are not at the state where I ended up. Like, it was just night and day. The change was quickly. Like, my kidneys just failed quickly, and I was retaining water. I started having blurry vision because I started getting hypertension. there was a point where I had to be in the ICU because just my levels of my high blood pressure levels were really high, and I was not feeling well, and everything was kind of like starting to fail inside of me. My kidneys were just giving up completely. And my doctor at that time, when I was hospitalized, like I was hospitalized 3 times before we moved to Colorado. The first time was when they called us and I was there for a week, and they did the blood work that confirmed that I had lupus. And then the second time was in the ICU. It was around July 4th. And I was there also for a week. The last time I was hospitalized for a whole month. I was just not improving. And the medicine that they were pumping me in, they were pumping me with prednisone, like really high doses, and just all these kinds of medicine that they were trying to keep the illness at bay and hoping that it might kind of calm down.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't just happening. So they're like, we're going to have to put you on dialysis.
My goodness.
And I remember my first time being on dialysis, they like, as soon as they got me out of the OR, they took me in because they're like, we need to filter out your blood because the toxins are just accumulating. And I freaked out because I can vaguely remember that I was surrounded by these elderly people.
Huh.
And they were crying, and some of them were just, you could just hear the pain in them. And I freaked out. I'm like, is this the rest of my life? Is this how I'm going to live now? And I just said a prayer, and I'm like, please, I don't know what's happening or where you're taking me, God, but please, like, send me a miracle. Like, please help me with this. And I ended up being on dialysis for 1.5 years, and we moved to Colorado.
Yeah, let me ask you real quick. So when you saw the elderly people around you, was that a vision or was that actually happening?
No, it was actually happening. There was elderly people. So I was in and out because I just, like, the anesthesia was coming off. But in where they took me in the room, like for the dialysis,
Yeah.
there were just all these elderly people that had to have dialysis. And I just heard them crying and moaning. And I'm like, I just kind of freaked out internally because I was like, I'm 15.
Right.
Like, what's going on? And after that, like, the doctor said it's most likely that you're going to need a kidney transplant. And this was in a couple of months that everything happened, from April to August. Like, everything, like, my life was completely being turned upside down.
Yeah.
And when they told my mom that I was getting a kidney transplant, they're like, well, you can either go to San Antonio, or there was another city, I can't remember, or you can, like, see, like, to go to a bigger city. And my mom asked, like, what about Colorado? Like, yeah, there's a children's hospital, like, you could probably get it there. And my grandmother used to live here, and my mom was like, well, let's do this so I can have family support. And my dad was like, yeah, like, I think you should go. And so we came here, and I was on dialysis for 1.5 years. And then after that, my mom, who's such a blessing, she was the one who was a match. She matched, and I was able to receive her kidneys. So that was great.
Gosh.
To be able to have that, like, a second chance at life, and again from my mom. So
Yeah, nothing's like a mother's love. I know that for sure.
Yeah, she's my rock. Like, I don't think I would have been able to have come this far without her support and just her love of, like, inspiring me continually to grow and to not give up, even though I have these illnesses that can be very limiting at times.
Yeah, I don't know if I share with you, but my mother had lupus. And it's been several years ago, and actually she was attacked pretty severely with it. What happened, she was, like, bedridden with it at first, and then it ended up attacking her lungs with, like, sarcoidosis. And then, but my mother is a true woman of faith. That she's my hero, my inspiration, because she was, like, bedridden, and then her prayer and her faith is always like, whose report will you believe? I will believe the report of the Lord. So she was always, no matter how bad or gloomy the situation looked like, she was always that I always say the gift of faith. She just always was full of faith, knowing God was going to heal her and take care of her. And so she went from bedridden to the wheelchair to a walker, and now she is totally healed from lupus. She's
Oh, wow.
independent, walking on her own, and yeah, just a true woman of faith. But I truly understand, the discomfort and the pain that one suffers going through that. And it does take a lot of strength. It does take the right people surrounding around you to keep you going as well, to keep you encouraged. So
Oh, definitely.
definitely admire you for all of this. So how do you distinguish between the JRA and the lupus? What are the differences?
Right now, my lupus is under remission, which is such a blessing. After the kidney transplant, like everything just kind of settled down and it was quiet. But when I was feeling it, it was a little hard to distinguish what was going on.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that when I did have lupus, my skin, I just felt very tender. Like someone would pat me like slowly. And I'm like,
yes.
I just felt needles and points and everything on fire.
Yeah.
Please don't do that. They're like, you're exaggerating. I'm like, I'm not. Like, it really hurts.
Yeah.
Just lightly tap or like a hug. If it was a little too tight to squeeze, my body felt like it was on fire. Like it just felt like it was going to fall apart. And with my JRA, it's a lot of joint pain. I know that it's my JRA because in the winter is when I really get the pains and the aches, and I know like it's the time when I start feeling more tired and I really can't do much. And I already have, from the prednisone, I already got osteopenia because prednisone, if you take it for a long term, it can make your bones more brittle and it can cause that. So having osteopenia and having JRA, now I've noticed that there's a lot of things that I have to be extra careful with. Just typing, I had to buy me like an ergonomic keyboard, an ergonomic mouse, so I can be able to do the stuff that I do, because my joints, when I try to do things that like the normal way, they become aggravated and very angry at me. And I've gone to occupational therapy a couple times because I had surgery on my left hand and they had to remove my joints because I had severe deformation on my hand. And every time I go, they're like, you need to make sure that like your utensils that you use, like the kitchen stuff that you'd use, the way that you dress, just making sure you use a lot of things that help you. And I'm in my 20s, so sometimes it does get a little frustrating. I'm like, no, like I'm an independent woman. I got this. Like I don't need no gadgets. And then God humbles me. He's like, there's technology and all these advances for a reason. Like use them to your benefit.
Yeah.
Like don't make your path harder than it needs to be. Learn that the hard way. Just even self-care, taking time for yourself, and even taking a hiatus from life. Sometimes you need to stop and take care of yourself. And that's where I'm at right now, where I have come to realize that even though my path looks completely different from my friends, that doesn't mean that it's not a worthy path. That doesn't mean that it's not worthy of God's attention. And it's been hard because sometimes I do not see the blessings that I want to see right away.
Yeah.
But I see different blessings that God is like, this is where I need you. And if you can just wait a little longer, we'll get there eventually.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. I noticed too, I was reading, I believe on your Instagram, after you had your kidney surgery, then you got afflicted with other things, asthma and some type of tumor, was it, that causes migraines?
Yeah, so it's called a pseudotumor. So it's like a fake tumor. It gives you symptoms of a tumor, but it's not really. Like it's just your brain. There's a lot of liquid and it's very inflamed in there. So after that, like now that's been okay, but then after that they kind of like re-diagnosed it into migraines, chronic migraines. And with that I also have fatigue, something that like the doctors are like, we don't really have a medicine for that. It's just something that you have to deal with. So I think that's the hardest thing, the fatigue.
Yeah.
Yesterday, my mom and I, we were out and visiting some family because I have an aunt who they already told her she's going to pass away soon because she has cancer. So we went to visit her and to see how she's doing. And we were just sitting, like we were not even doing much. And I told my mom, I'm tired. Like it's after we visited for like a couple hours, I'm like, it's time for me to go home and rest. And that's really hard. In college, I think it was harder because I had roommates that really didn't understand why I slept a lot, why I had to just be more cautious and careful.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would try to overdo it and it would just cause me to regret it later on because then I would have to recuperate for like a whole week. And they're like, well, like, why are you so tired? I'm like, it's just the way that my body's designed. Like, this is what's going on. It's just the intricate details of every single illness and they're all doing their thing. And but I've learned through this journey that if I don't speak up, if I'm not my own advocate, nobody's going to know what's going on.
Right.
Because I look normal in the outside and I look okay. So if I don't say like, I'm in pain, I need to rest. Like I need to do that for myself so I can be in a place where I can enjoy life, but at the same time, I'm not overdoing it and causing myself to be back in the hospital. So
right.
Find balance.
Yeah. And I think that's so important to embrace and to recognize that balance, because so many people, I would say, like, suffer in silence. Whether you're going through a chronic illness or some other type of depression, you end up suffering in silence because you don't want to be a burden or bother anybody, but all you're doing is hurting yourself. And so that's a really like liberating freedom when you get to that point where you say, I have a voice, I have to advocate for myself, like you said, or no one else will know. And I think that is part of like a moment of freeing yourself as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely is.
Yeah. So I was wondering too, like, you at a very young age, you got afflicted with all this. How was it attending school and college? How challenging was that for you, or different?
So I am addicted to education. Like I love learning. Like even if it's just on my own, like just getting little tidbits of knowledge has always been fascinating to me. So as a kid, when I was first diagnosed with GRA, I think that I did pretty well with school. Like there was a lot of days that I had to miss either appointments or I was just not feeling well, but I would always push myself to go no matter how I was feeling. Cause I'm like, no, like I need to go, I need to go, I need to go. And I think over the years that kind of had a negative impact of my view of, I was trying to keep up on a race that was not designated for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up crashing and burning. Like in college, there were so many times that I had to take a semester off, a year off, either because of surgeries or because just like so many hospitalizations. And my body's like, you're trying to run so fast, I can't keep up. And I graduated 3 years ago. And these past 3 years, I feel like they've been the most difficult of learning self-care and again, being my own voice. Because I kind of just crashed and burned. Like honestly, coming back a couple months into being at home, I kind of just, everything kind of just aggravated itself again. And I think that's a very important lesson that we need to learn, that our body will push as much as it can, but once it hits its limit and goes into overdrive, the consequences will be severe. Like you will see them manifest, and they will manifest in this angry monsters. Like, you didn't take care of me, so now you're gonna suffer.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I suffered because there was times that I didn't listen to my body because I was like, oh no, I want to go have fun with my friends, or I need to stay up and not sleep, or because I need to do this assignment, and I didn't manage my time well.
Yeah.
And so it was hard.
Yeah. And now, you're dealing with all of that, and then COVID hits. So how do you manage that on top of everything else that's going on with you?
It's been a challenge because I feel like my life has been in pause ever since I came back from school. I've tried different things of trying to go forward in a sense, and I felt like I was being stopped every way that I went. It was being blocked. And then COVID hits and everybody is being put at a standstill. And I'm kind of like, well, I've been at a standstill forever. Can we not do this? Like, I know I'm not the only one that exists, but can we not? And honestly, it's been challenging not being able to meet my friends, having to just go from the home in the hospital and having to be extra careful of who I'm around with and taking like the extra precautions of like weighing, is it worth the risk? Like, is it worth me losing my kidney? Like all that I went through just to go have fun for 5 minutes. Like, and I think about it, I'm like, I prefer to wait and just progress spiritually and personally in the ways that I can.
Yeah.
And it's been very eye-opening to see a lot of people talk about how like they are starting to understand just a little bit of what it is to have a chronic illness. Like I have this friend who also had a kidney transplant, and her brother said, wow, this must suck. Like, this is what you feel like having to be stuck at home. And she's like, yeah, like, this is how it feels like, I'm glad that you kind of understand a little bit, but she is saddened that it had to happen this way for him to understand, like, this is my life and this is how I feel like my brothers, I love my brothers, but I've never thought that they would be the kind of people like, oh, don't let her go out because she can get sick. Oh, it's like really like when it first started, and my brother that comes after me says that, he's like, Mom, you can't let Monique go out because she can get sick and like it's dangerous and we don't know. And I was like, wow, like they care.
So how many siblings do you have? Do you have just the two brothers? Or?
Two brothers, yeah. They're
Oh,
young,
okay.
25 and 19.
Okay, okay, very good. So growing up with your brothers, it seemed like I'm sure a lot of attention was put on you, because of things that you had to deal with. Did that cause any conflict with them, or how were they towards you growing up?
I feel like growing up we were very united and just we did a lot of things as a family. I don't know how it affected them, but I know that for me, I did feel guilty a lot of the times because I knew that my mom had to spend time like in the hospital or like just having to run around to doctor's appointments or getting my medicine. And I know that I always felt guilty because I felt like I was taking time away and I wasn't kind of sharing my mom. Um, but I felt like the way that we grew up, we were pretty united. And I was the type of sister that I tried to be as involved as possible, and they would call me the second mom.
Oh, that's so
So
sweet.
I would be like, no, my brother has homework, and be like, get out of my life, you're ruining it. And he was like 7, and I was like, okay. And so it's just, I've always tried to show that love towards them, and I think that they know, like, I'm always trying to do things with them in the small ways that I can, and um, just letting them know like I am there for them, even though sometimes I can't be completely there. Like I try the best that I can.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. And it sounds like you have their loving support, so that's important. I know I have like 4 other sisters, and
Oh,
I
wow.
feel like, well, they know I'm the second mom. I help raise them and everything, so I'm considered the second mom too. But so, dealing with so many different things, do you have those days where you're getting afflicted by everything all at once, where you just kind of feel like you're just hitting that rock bottom? And if so, when you're in those low points, how do you bring yourself up to that inspiration that you exude all the time?
Oh, that is hard. I have my moments where, like, I like to say that I have my mental breakdown every once a week, and then after I let it out, I'm like, okay, it's gonna be fine. I feel like I've been having those moments lately a lot, where it's been a tug of war with God, where I get upset and I cry out and I wonder, like, when will I see the things that I want? Like, I want to start a family, like, I want to get married. Those are things and
Sure,
desires that I want, but
sure.
I know that right now I need to be a little selfish and take care of me so I can be able to one day take care of a family.
Yeah.
And it is very hard when God puts your dreams on hold and he's like, well, maybe we need to tweak it a little here and there and just be patient. But what brings me back up is having the support group. I have a friend that I met in college, and she deals with her own things of illnesses and stuff, and we've been through thick and thin together. And every time I need some advice or help, I go to her.
Yeah.
Or every time that I'm having problems, I go to my mom and I talk to her. And just reaching out, like I used to be very quiet about what was going on, and now I'm like, no, like I need to speak up. Like this is what family and friends are for. And then after that, like I'll make some jokes about how God didn't prepare us for life to be this hard, and he's just like, I told you so. You didn't listen when you were going down. And then I move on. And I think like laughter, making light of my situation of like, it's gonna be fine, you know, like I have a broken bone here and there, but I still can walk. It helps me deal with what I'm going through. Like that's my coping mechanism of like, I need to laugh, because if I allow myself to sit in my sorrows, then it's gonna be harder to get out of it. And there's been times when it has been hard where I couldn't find my smile, I couldn't find my laughter, and I would get mad and upset, and I would be like, another thing? Like another thing? Like, are you serious? Like another thing. And then after crying and just letting it out, like I'm like, okay, fine, like I'm doing this because you have promised me good things are ahead. But I'm not doing it very happily, just so you know. And then I don't know, just I feel like the relationship that I have with my Heavenly Father, with God, just it comes to a point where I'm like, I'm letting you know how I actually feel, because you say that you want to hear everything and you want to be involved. This is how I feel, and I know that I shouldn't be upset at you, but I am. I know I'll get over it right now, but like I just need to let you know that I'm not happy with the situation. And I think that's what keeps me going, just knowing that God has been there, even though when I haven't felt him, and just remember the blessings I have manifested in my life, and telling myself, I can't throw it all in now. Like I've come this far for me to just quit. Like I can't just quit now. And I think that's what inspires me to just keep pushing forward.
Jeez, that's so beautiful. I think that transparency is what heals and keeps you going. So that's key. So when did you decide, or when did that moment happen in your life that you decided, I'm going to embrace the positivity of things and not the negativity?
I feel like I've always been pretty positive, thanks to my mom.
Yes.
She, like you've met her, she just, I don't know, exudes happiness. And she's always trying to like talk to people and telling them her life story. I'm like, Mom, I don't need to know everything. And so she's like, you never know. Maybe they needed to hear it. I'm like, okay. So I think from her I learned, but I think going to college was when I really embraced like, this is my life. Like I shouldn't be ashamed of being sick. Like if people want to be my friends, if they want to be part of my life, they need to come to understand that I come with a lot of package. I come with a lot of just heartbreak and sorrow, but I'm trying to live my best life. And there will be times that I will break down and I will cry, and it will be hard. But I think that just acknowledging that this is the journey that I've been put on.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be all tears, but there can be happiness. And I think that I realized that when I was about 19, 20 years old, and I told myself like if I'm always happy, but like we talked about it earlier, just being transparent with God. Like I would always keep these feelings of like, oh, I shouldn't be angry at God. I shouldn't like feel these feelings, but I'm like, I am human.
Yeah.
And if this is the way he created me with these emotions, I need to let him know, like, I know it's not your fault, but this is how I feel.
Sure.
And I will move on eventually. But right now, I just need to cry out and let you know I'm angry. And I think that's when I really embraced like, okay, just because you're embracing a path of joy, that doesn't mean there isn't sorrow. Like you don't have to put on a fake smile. Like you can say, you know what? not okay right now, but
Yeah,
I'll be eventually.
exactly.
Just accepting your emotions. And that's what I'm all about. Like, I want others who have a chronic illness to learn to be okay with their emotions,
Yeah,
but not simmer in the sadness. Because when we do that, then that's when we create this hole of just anxiety and doubt and depression, and just we dig ourselves deeper. Because I've
yeah,
been there.
yeah,
Just learning to be like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. I'm grieving, I'm crying, I'm angry. I'll eventually get over
yeah,
and move forward. And I think that just acknowledging that these beautiful emotions God gave us should not be suppressed.
yeah. So true. So true. So on your YouTube, your motto or maybe your mantra is faith, laughter, life, and inspiration. Um, what does that mean to you? And you do something on your YouTube with that. So if you could kind of share that a little bit.
Oh, so it's my little intro. I always felt cheesy. I'm like, I don't know if I should do this. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. If they like me, they like me. And just, I believe that we need to have faith
Yeah.
in a higher power, faith in God, like just faith in yourself that you can do this. And life is full of ups and downs. And that's what I want to show. It's been a little hard to show that side because I am kind of like still hesitant,
Yeah.
but just trying to show them like life is messy, but it can be very beautiful when you embrace the mess.
Mhm.
And laughter, like I feel like laughter is what keeps us going forward, just seeing the sense of humor. I had a friend in college, she's like, do you not think God has a sense of humor? Like he created a platypus, like come on, what is that? And so I was like, you know what, that is a very funny looking animal. That is funny. I'm like, okay, I can see it. And just inspiration. I want to be inspired and be an inspiration to others,
Yeah.
because I feel like we all have stories to tell, and these beautiful stories, even the flaws and the mess and just the things that we want to hide,
Yeah.
is what makes us beautiful and just makes us who we are. And I think that's what we need to embrace. Like we are flaws, we are imperfections, and when we learn to embrace all that beautiful mess, then we can really embrace like who we are. And it's a journey, like it takes time, but I guess that's what I want people to know. Like just have faith in yourself, live life and laugh and inspire and be inspired.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Yeah, that's my platform as well. I just want to encourage, inspire others. And I feel like if I just do that to one person, mic drop.
Yeah.
I've done what my purpose is, but as long as I can continue, that's even better. So
Yes.
definitely. Who would you consider your hero, your inspiration?
That would be my mom. She's just such a champion. When I got sick with Jerry, she, I think it was like a couple months later, she found out that she was pregnant, and she would take me to doctor's appointments, and she would be like 6, 7 months pregnant, carried me around, and just like, because she literally had to lift me up when I was younger, and I got so sick I ended up in a wheelchair, and she would have to lift me up and put me in the wheelchair, and she had to carry the wheelchair, and just everything that she did. And being pregnant at that time, but she's just such an inspiration. Like I think that she has such a heart of gold, and then going through the testing and just the evaluations to make sure she was compatible, and saying, yeah, I'm gonna give her a kidney, like no doubt about it. Like I'm so thankful. She is someone that I want to be with. She grows
Yeah.
up, like I admire that she has such a great heart.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. What would you consider that's been most rewarding for you along your journey?
I would say the people that I've met,
Yeah.
the people that I've crossed paths with,
Yeah.
and that have become some of my greatest friends. And also just getting to know myself better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel that I hid so many parts of myself, and I labeled myself as the sick girl that is smart. Like that's all I'm good at. Like I'm like book smart, and I can never do anything else. Like I'm sick, and I allowed that label to consume me. And just getting to know myself has been very rewarding. Like there are parts of me that I'm grateful that I'm getting to know, like, just how intricate and detailed God is with every single person. Just the dreams and the hopes and like their inspiration and ambition. I'm so grateful that he does that, because then we can peel those layers and we get to unveil our true selves and just how much potential God has given us. And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, that is beautiful. How do you think your family would describe you as a person?
Um, I think that they would describe me as taking charge, because I always want to be in control, and just sometimes just being silly. And I think like loving, because I love my family. Like, I'll go up to my mom and I'm like, I love you. She's like, I love you too. I'm like, did you know that I love you? And she's like, yes, I know that you love me. And I'll say it like 20 times in a day. And I don't know, I've been like that since I was little. Like, I want people to know that I love them. Like, I tell my mom, you need to know that I love you, okay? She's like, I know, Monique. You just told me. And I don't know, just I love to show that love, like, verbally,
Yeah,
and also physically hugging and making sure that they know that I care.
yeah, yeah, beautiful. So, Monique, what word of encouragement or tips that you can give someone that's currently dealing with chronic illnesses or depression or what have you? What words of encouragement can you give?
Don't give up. And when the going gets hard, take a moment to pause, take your rest, take your nap, and when you're refreshed, come back and ready to continue.
Wow, that's beautiful. That is so beautiful. And if people want to follow you, where can they follow you at?
They can follow me on my YouTube, which is Monique Estrella, and also my Instagram, which is the same name. It's my first and middle name. So those are like the two places where I'm at the most. So yeah, like, if you want to go and check it out.
That's great. Well, Monique, thank you so much for sharing your journey with me. I just pray that you continue being blessings to others as you have been to myself as well. You are just truly amazing, and I wish you all the best. I truly do. So,
Oh, thank you, Emjae, and thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this, and
yeah.
your spirit, you make people comfortable. You make them feel welcomed and at home. So I'm grateful for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, that's a wrap with Make Room with MJ.